So hi guys, Rahul this side on behalf of Revsportz, and as you already know, we are in Jamshedpur, and when you are in Jamshedpur, you know Tata Football Academy is a place you should visit, because it is one of the oldest football academy in India, which have produced numerous talent who went on to represent the national team as well. And we also yesterday actually we visited the Tata Football Academy, and the infrastructure and facilities, like the modern facility and infrastructure is present everywhere in the world. But recently we have actually seen that decline in the number of talent being produced from the academy and went on to represent the national team. So actually want to know about that. So that's why we are here to meet CEO of Jamshedpur FC, Mukul Choudhari. Sir, first thing, as even if you walk back 20 or 30 years back, the academy used to produce so many talent. They went on to represent the national team as well, but recently we don't see that much talent. Of course, the academy is going on very well, they are doing well in the youth league and all. So what your thought on this?
Okay, so firstly thank you for this opportunity, and thanks Revsportz for coming here and doing this story. But more importantly, we have to see how the ecosystem has evolved, and one is very happy with the way things have evolved. 87 when we launched academy, which is close to now 40 years.
Yes.
That time we were the only academy. Okay. So you were the only one producing players. So the entire national team used to come out of here,
yes,
which was very natural. So there was no other people, no other academy producing anything else. So it is just one factory producing material. So everybody is buying from that factory.
Okay.
So national team was feeding on to the talent that was developed here.
Yes.
And we are glad that even the president of All India Football Federation is also a product of this academy. Mahesh Gowli, Ranidi Singh, so many to name, who are doing well beyond their playing career now. So we have created more history in that sense of creating more footballing legends for India. And have cut to till next 20 years, even till 2000, 2005, 2010 if I'm not wrong, there was nobody else.
Yes.
Tata Football Academy was leading the field. We are good that now you have at least 150 odd registered academies with AIFF, and there are 400 otherwise academies. So you have the ecosystem has evolved. There are many people who are coming and developing academies, and while that has happened, more important, it's like you have IIM Ahmedabad and you have IIM Calcutta, but now you have so many IIMs which are producing so many different talent, and therefore we are feeding to the entire world.
Correct.
The talented Indians which are there.
Correct.
So if you ask the best person right now in the CEO of some global company, he may not necessarily be from IIM Ahmedabad or from IIM Calcutta, but he'll be from the Indian education system who's done well for himself and has reached the highest peak where maybe possibly IIM Ahmedabad, Bournemouth have not reached.
Right.
So these are things which are different. Having said that, there's another change that has happened. 2010-11 when we were grooming or getting ready for Under 17 World Cup, which India participated in, AIFF launched its own academy, where they kept certain people together, which was a good intent and which was a good thing to happen. Okay. Now, when you start your own academy as a federation, which is going to get opportunity to play in under 15, under 16, under 18, that's the national team. Okay. Your pipeline or your supply to the national team suddenly stops, because whatever you do here, these are the players who are going to stay together and going to play under 17 World Cup.
Right.
You are not going to get a headway into that, which was a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
But then was those 7 years, and even today we have an academy of AIFF.
Yeah.
Most of the countries don't have this.
No.
Therefore, the supply from the academies and the good academies keeps going into the system. Now, AIFF also has an advantage. There's nothing wrong in what AIFF did, because it was done with good intent to help Indian football grow wherever they are. All teams in India right now have it's mandated, which is again good for the system, to have their own youth system.
Yeah.
So everybody right now, the players on the bench, if I am a Mohan Bagan or if I am an XYZ club, I would prefer somebody who's coming from my own youth system rather to take it from some other academy.
Correct.
So now your pipeline or your supply is limited, and there are I-League clubs which are also, so it's still today, all my players who basically pass out of here, once upon a time they used to get only into National League and I-League teams when they were the Premier Leagues. Today they might not get that option, but not on the Premier League, but first division and second division, all my players are playing. So recruitment is 100%. Of course, how they grow from there and reach the top is another story altogether. So this is something which is essential. I can't compete. I'm a private company and I'm doing my good work. Even today, if I speak, all my under 14, under 16, under 18 teams reached their finals. Okay,
yes,
at the final
media manager told me yesterday.
And unbeaten.
That's good.
So we are doing something right, and we continue to do that. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with the system. It's just that the system is changed. Opportunity will come to them. All the good players have been picked up. How they get picked up, I would not complain, say right, wrong. That's something left to the players. We're still imparting the best thing. Therefore, we are unbeaten.
Yeah.
Okay, and not only one team, it is all 3 teams. So if it is doing that proves that we are doing something right. Having said that, we are happy that the ecosystem is growing. There are more and more academies. There are many people developing players. It will only help Indian football. So we have to think from that perspective and not purely what TFA is doing. Of course, TFA is doing good. Therefore, their results are better.
Yes, exactly.
But having said that, there's a lot of good happening in Indian football.
Yes.
And that is something that we are very happy with.
Brilliant answer, and he made a valid point. And to summarize that, TFA actually showed the way to everyone, and now others are following in the footsteps of Tata Football Academy. There are so many academies, so Indian team doesn't need to rely on Tata Football Academy anymore. There are so many academies, as he said that more than 100 academies across India, and most of them are AIFF accredited academy. But my second question is, going forward, any changes do you think that any areas that you need to address from
of course.
the academies and all?
You have to constantly evolve, you have to constantly grow. You can always do better than what you are doing today, and that's how we.
One thing that you were planning to do?
So yes,
in near future.
I'm saying that typically the exposure that we get, it is you are as good as an opponent that you play, or as you can get better of him. But if you have to go to next level, then the exposure has to be better in terms of competitive exposure. I think that's one area where we need to work on. We should introduce more and more international friendlies or other international exposure for younger kids.
For your academy?
For academy level also. If for example, we will also be collaborating with the federation.
In 2018, you were in collaboration with Atletico Madrid.
So we were in
planning any such in the future?
We will do that.
Okay.
We'll do that. Before that, we were with Sheffield. Before that, at some point of time, we had been with Sao Paulo also. Okay. We had been to various other places.
Some big names.
Yeah. We had been to Bayern Munich at that point of time. So Bochum.
Yes.
These are the clubs that we were associated with. I think we will continue to do that. Only thing is, it's in Indian football is yet to evolve. For us to do that, it needs a lot of resource commitment.
Exactly.
So we will also lean on the federation. We'll try to see how best this can be helped. One is going there, other is calling young teams to come here, and they play a few games here. So those are things I think unless you get good competitive exposure with stronger teams, you don't get stronger. So if you want to get better, you're not supposed to play with weaker teams, you play with a stronger team. So that is something that I think we should invest in and try to work on. So if you ask me what change I want to bring about, see to it that we get better and stronger teams to play with.
Brilliant. My final question going forward, last year, I've been disappointing for India overall, Indian football fraternity. The league started late and all those things. In this situation, if we see, there are some clubs who doesn't worry about this scenario. Still, they are backed by big corporate. They splash huge money in the transfer window. But we have seen Jamshedpur is a club who doesn't splash huge money in the transfer window, but they don't spend big budget in the transfer window, but they rely on balance. But still, they manage to make a competitive unit, and also we all know that they went on to win the ISL Shield as well. So can you elaborate to us about the approach of Jamshedpur, in team building and all, and also how important for an ISL club to sustain, by relying on their youth talent from their academies?
So I think that's a good question. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
There's no right and wrong thing in the way we are operating or others are operating. It depends on your appetite and what your ambition is.
Even in Premier League also, there is Manchester City, there is other teams.
Exactly. So it is something that it is, and yeah, of course, one is the right point that you mentioned was the sustainability part. Indian football is not evolved to a level where the kind of expenditure which is being done on players and even otherwise is rationalized. We therefore choose to be more rational in our approach in terms of the way we spend, and therefore we have been able to put units together which are very competitive. We may not keep winning the shield always, but the kind of monies that we put in vis-a-vis kind of results we bring on the table are very different. We are always pegging above what we actually spent compared to others. And we are very proud of it because we have evolved from an area where we were working on the development side of the sport. TFA came first and club came later. So development is where we always used to, and that's probably the reason today even our senior team has 9 players who have come out of our system. Okay, which I don't know whether any other club can claim. So that is something that we'll continue to work on, give opportunity to more players. So we judge ourselves more by what impact we are making into the society and the amount of players that we have created rather than other aspects. Of course, that is not unimportant, but this is of equal importance to us.
That's great. So that's Mukul Choudhary, and by the way, great perspective that he has just put in. Really enjoyed talking to you, sir, and thanks a lot for your time, sir.
Thanks, pleasure.
Hopefully we'll meet again.
Thanks.